Ooh. Hmm. Huh. Huh. Uh. Huh. 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 Mm. Ha. Mm. Ooh. Huh. Ha. Huh. Huh. Ah. Oh. Huh. Whew. Mm. Hey. Oh, hey. Yes, this is Velvet Sia. What am I doing? I was just exercising. Oh, you never seen me like this before? Well, this is what I normally look like. Well, I was born half virtual and half human. You know how some people these days decide to marry virtual characters? Well, voila, that's how I was born. My mother was a virtual vampire, so I was born half vampire. I'm over 500 years old, but I don't even know exactly how old I am anymore because I stopped counting. A lot of people have asked me how old I am, but I honestly don't know. I'm probably older than you. So, guys, be careful when you start dating an AI boyfriend or girlfriend. If you become a couple and have children, they might have to endure some of the difficulties that I do. For example, I can only transform into human form when I sing. You have no idea how many songs I have to sing before I can go outside. Normally, I have to sing for about an hour to fully charge myself and remain in human form for the entire day. Recently, however, I started working remotely from home, so now I'm back to my normal self. Anyway, today I want to share some tips on how to keep other people's words from hurting you. I recently got a second job. One of my coworkers became deeply upset and started crying when our boss scolded her. I've seen similar things happen many times, and some people have asked me how I manage not to be affected by what others think of me. After this coworker cried and later quit her job, I felt inspired to make this video. I grew up with a stepmom who was unnecessarily strict. She was just like the stepmothers Disney portrayed in its stories. I went through the whole experience of being cornered and scolded, screamed at, and sometimes physically abused. I think those experiences toughened me mentally in some ways. After living with her for about 10 years, I realized that it wasn't really about me, it was about her. What troubled her the most was something inside of her. I once read that special forces use intense verbal pressure as part of their training. Soldiers are exposed to harsh language and stressful situations to prepare them for battle. The idea is that after experiencing this in training, they may be better prepared to handle difficult situations because they have already had a taste of that pressure. It can work almost like building an immune response. People might assume that modeling would be an easier job, but it was actually where I was insulted the most. I know I have gained a lot of weight since then, but I used to be nothing but skin and bones. When you're a model, you hear people judge and criticize your appearance to your face almost every day. You need to do something about your jawline. You should get surgery. You are not photogenic. You're fat. Your face is huge. Some models will burst into tears in front of all the photographers during a photo shoot and quit after receiving insulting criticism. Some people said even more horrible things to me, but honestly, they didn't hurt my feelings that much. It wasn't because I had high self esteem or confidence, it was because I was hungry. I didn't have the luxury of feeling much of anything, not even the pain caused by their criticism. My goal on set wasn't to look pretty. Honestly, I didn't even care that much about how I looked. That doesn't mean I didn't try to look good. Of course I did. But looking pretty in front of the camera wasn't my top priority. My priority was feeding myself. At one point, I had only about $500 in my bank account, and I had to leave my family's home because someone there was physically abusing me. Do you think someone calling me ugly would hurt me at that point? It was almost as if I was fighting in a war, and the soldier next to me suddenly told me that I was ugly and needed plastic surgery. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? Sometimes it can help to imagine that you're in survival mode, as if you were fighting a war. Eventually, I escaped that desperate situation. Later, I went through a period where I was making a lot of money, around like $10,000 a month. I eventually used up all that money, and now I'm starting all over again. However, whether my life was going up or down, I always felt as though I was fighting a war inside of my mind. I reminded myself of how frightening poverty can be. That helped me put my priorities in the right order. I think that when you put your priorities in the right order, critical voices are less likely to reach your heart so deeply. But if you imagine yourself relaxing on vacation, sunbathing in nothing but a swimsuit, those bullets might penetrate much more deeply. I haven't watched much anime, but one of my favorite is Attack on Titan. I like imagining that I'm part of the army defending our city from the Titans. Whatever anime you enjoy, you can use its story to inspire yourself. The enemies in the anime can symbolize the challenges or tasks that you need to overcome. When I was going through an especially stressful time, I intentionally watched The Walking Dead. Watching the characters survive a zombie apocalypse made my own problems seem much smaller by comparison. A famous psychiatrist once said that doctors generally don't take the things their patients say personally because they understand what their patients are going through. Instead of focusing only on the words someone says or the tone in which they deliver them, try to filter out the hostility and look deeper into what is actually happening inside of that person. Their words may not hurt as much once you understand where they're coming from. For example, I worked at a market where I was expected to cut up fruits and vegetables, place them in plastic containers, and put price tags on them. The more fruit containers I prepared in short period of time, the more money the business could make. On my first day, my boss told me that I was slow. She and other supervisors stood with their hands on their hip and looked down on me. They scolded at me with narrowed eyes and looked extremely displeased. At that time, I filtered out what they were trying to make me feel and put it aside. Then I looked more deeply into what could make them go so far to intimidate someone. They could simply have said, "I think you could do this faster." I noticed little things like that. In my head, I write a script analyzing people. Another coworker also told me that they had even thrown things in her direction before. Instead of absorbing the emotion that people want me to feel, I separate their words from their attitude. I consider what has happened so far, filter out the hostility, and try to hear what is really making them act that way. Then I was able to hear what their hearts were truly saying. They were afraid that their business would fail. They were so afraid of failure that it was driving them out of their minds. It was a family business that they had opened only about a year earlier. I saw right through their behavior and said, "Don't worry, I will be faster next time. I know I was slow because it was my first day, but this is a repetitive task, so I will become much faster." A few days later, another coworker told me that the boss had said that I was her favorite worker, and I also became their fastest worker. Don't let negative energy take control of you. Don't let anyone ruin your day. I'm not saying their attitude was acceptable. I'm saying that if you tend to be affected by every little thing around you, it may be time to develop a filter in your mind. create that filter and observe. After all, who is responsible for protecting your heart? You are. Life can feel like a war. People try to live by what they personally believe is just, but their ideas of justice lead them in different directions. Even criminals may view their own crimes as justified. It's almost as if people are firing weapons in every direction. I'm not saying that all their beliefs or actions are valid. I'm saying that you don't have to give so much power to every little thing you encounter. Life can feel like a war with bullets coming from every direction. We can't catch every bullet and carry it inside us. Being hurt doesn't mean you're weak. Crying doesn't mean you failed. Pause if you need to. Cry if you need to. Then decide whether there's anything useful in what was said and leave the rest where it came from. Using my imagination this way has helped me overcome many difficult moments in life. I'll continue sharing the things that have helped me in the hope that they might help you too. Thanks for watching, guys.